We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Libakshi Kurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India and Russia vow to work together for a future shaped by peace, partnership and progress, inks 16 agreements in key fields. IndiGo chaos deepens as all domestic departures cancelled. Government issues new directives, orders probe. Railways come to the rescue, adds extra coaches. US Supreme Court agrees to hear case challenging birthright citizenship after Trump's controversial order was blocked by multiple lower courts. Pakistan and Afghanistan exchange heavy fire along the border amid heightened tensions following failed peace talks. And in hockey, Men's Junior World Cup, India beats Belgium in a thrilling quarter-final, set up for semis clash against seven-time champions Germany. And on to the details now. After a packed day of bilateral engagements, including the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit, Russian President Vladimir Putin departed for his country from New Delhi. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar was present at the airport to see the Russian leader off, underscoring the diplomatic warmth and significance attached to the visit. On Friday evening, President Draupadi Murmu also hosted a banquet in honor of Russian President Vladimir Putin at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. President Putin was accorded a ceremonial welcome upon his arrival at the banquet. The banquet comes towards the end of President Putin's two-day state visit to India, where he participated in a wide spectrum of events, including a crucial bilateral discussion with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin of Russia held wide-ranging talks in New Delhi on Friday, reaffirming the depth and continuity of India-Russia ties. From strategic cooperation to global peace efforts, the two leaders reviewed key areas of partnership during President Putin's state visit. Amritpal Singh and Jessica Taneja reports for more.
Against the backdrop of warmth and trust built over decades, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin came together at Hyderabad House in New Delhi, reaffirming the enduring friendship between India and Russia. Handshakes reflected history and conversations reflected the future as the two leaders began high-level bilateral talks during President Putin's two-day state visit to India. Prime Minister Modi said that India and Russia share deep-rooted historical ties and that President Putin's visit holds special significance, marking 25 years since his first official visit to India in 2001.
एक्सेलेंसी, आपकी यात्रा बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक है। 2001 में जब आपने कार्यभार संभाला और भारत की आपकी यात्रा पहली हुई, उसको आज 25 साल हो गए और उस पहली यात्रा में ही स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की एक मजबूत नींव रखी गई थी।
Prime Minister described President Putin as a visionary leader and said the strength of India-Russia relations reflects that vision.
एक्सेलेंसी, मैं मानता हूं कि ये जो 2001 में आपने जो भूमिका अदा की, एक विजनरी लीडर कैसे सोचता है, कहां से शुरू करता है और संबंधों को कहां तक पहुंचा सकता है, इसका एक उत्तम उदाहरण भारत रशिया के संबंध है।
On the Ukraine conflict, Prime Minister Modi reiterated that India stands firmly on the side of peace and assured that India supports all global efforts aimed at restoring peace.
आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। यूक्रेन के संबंध में भारत ने शुरुआत से शांति का पक्ष रखा है। हम इस विषय के शांतिपूर्ण और स्थायी समाधान के लिए किए जा रहे सभी प्रयासों का स्वागत करते हैं। भारत सदैव अपना योगदान देने के लिए तैयार रहा है और आगे भी रहेगा।
President Vladimir Putin thanked India for its constructive role and attention towards peace initiatives related to Ukraine. President Putin also highlighted the expanding scope of cooperation between India and Russia across sectors such as defense, space, artificial intelligence, high technology, and aircraft development.
In the joint statement that we've adopted with Mr. Modi, we've delineated the priority objectives on the further reinforcements of our ties in the politics and security, economy, trade, in humanitarian and cultural spheres. As you saw for yourself, we have signed an impressive package of intergovernmental, interagency and corporate agreements. Many of those agreements are intended to broaden the economic cooperation between Russia and India. And this is entirely natural due to the fact that our countries are important partners of one another in trade, investment and technologies.
President Vladimir Putin offered floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat, honoring Bapu's legacy and teachings. Mahatma Gandhi had several connections with Russia, which form part of the shared history of our two countries. Earlier, President Putin was accorded a ceremonial guard of honor at Rashtrapati Bhavan. With renewed resolve and shared purpose, India and Russia look ahead to a future shaped by peace, partnership, and progress. With Amritpal and Jessica, Bureau Report, DD India.
And India and Russia sealed a wide-ranging package of agreements and a joint statement in New Delhi on Friday, reaffirming their special and privileged strategic partnership and setting an ambitious economic, technological and connectivity agenda.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin oversaw the adoption of a Vision 2030 framework. Multiple MOUs on trade, energy, connectivity, and people to people exchanges, and a joint press statement addressing defense, nuclear, and space cooperation. Building on the earlier framework announced by the two leaders to deepen industrial, technological, and investment ties. The two leaders outlined a core outcome to guide trade and economic partnership up to 2030 to address the trade imbalance, promote Indian exports, and diversify cooperation into high technology sectors, digital transformation, and critical infrastructure. 16 MOUs and agreements were signed by the two leaders. 2 MOUs on manpower mobility to regulate skilled Indian worker movement, recruitment, protection, and vocational training. Agreement on joint urea production to bolster India's fertilizer security and agricultural supply chains. MOU on training Indian seafarers for polar and Arctic waters, aiding Northern Sea Route participation. Shipbuilding cooperation framework for joint design, technology transfer, local manufacturing, and maritime infrastructure. Cooperation on critical minerals and supply chains for clean energy, electronics, and advanced manufacturing. Connectivity efforts highlighted support for the international north-south transport corridor and maritime routes to enhance supply chain efficiency. Energy cooperation emphasized Russia's role in India's energy security across hydrocarbons, LNG, coal, nuclear fuel, and hydrogen. The economic goals include higher bilateral trade volumes by 2030, targeting 100 billion US dollars and broader Indian exports. Bureau Report, DD India.
President Putin addressed the India-Russia Business Forum in New Delhi, highlighting the defense, nuclear energy, trade and counter-terror cooperation. Tapas Bhattacharya has more on this.
A spirit of friendship and strategic trust marked the India-Russia Business Forum in New Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the forum in New Delhi, following their delegation-level talks at Hyderabad House during President Putin's first India visit in 4 years.
बिजनेस हो या डिप्लोमेसी, किसी भी साझेदारी की नींव आपसी विश्वास है। भारत रूस संबंधों की सबसे बड़ी शक्ति यही विश्वास है। ये हमारे साझे प्रयासों को दिशा भी देता है और गति भी देता है। यही वह लॉन्च पैड है जो हमें नए सपनों, नई आकांक्षाओं की उड़ान भरने के लिए प्रेरित करता है।
Prime Minister Modi announced that after defense and space, India now plans to open the civil nuclear sector to private players as well, calling it a major mindset reform. He expressed confidence that the ambitious target of $100 billion in bilateral trade by 2030 could be achieved ahead of schedule.
पिछले वर्ष राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मैंने 2030 तक द्विपक्षीय व्यापार को $100 बिलियन का उस लक्ष्य को पार करने का हमने निर्धार किया था। लेकिन कल से मेरी जो राष्ट्रपति पुतिन से बात हो रही है और जिस प्रकार के पोटेंशियल नजर आ रहे हैं, मुझे नहीं लगता कि हमें 2030 तक इंतजार करना पड़ेगा। ये मैं साफ देख रहा हूं। हम उस लक्ष्य को समय से पहला पूरा करने के संकल्प के साथ आगे बढ़ रहे हैं और मेरा विश्वास बढ़ रहा है।
President Putin praised India for pursuing an independent and sovereign policy with strong results. Both leaders announced that India and Russia have finalized an economic cooperation program until 2030 to diversify trade and strengthen long-term business ties, with energy remaining a key pillar of cooperation.
Today, the Indian economy is one of the fastest growing in the world. Figures speak for themselves. Over a decade, the GDP of the country has almost doubled, and in terms of the purchasing power parity, it increased by 2.5 times. Thanks to the sound economic policy and such landmark initiatives by Prime Minister Modi as Make in India program, India is strengthening its technological sovereignty.
Prime Minister Modi also revealed that both sides will work towards the early conclusion of a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. On terror, PM Modi said, India and Russia stand shoulder to shoulder against the global threat of terrorism, emphasizing that it is an attack on humanity itself. President Putin reaffirmed Russia's readiness to ensure uninterrupted fuel supplies to India and explore cooperation in nuclear and energy infrastructure. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
Well, reactions from both Russian and Indian business leaders have poured in with regard to India-Russia Business Forum meeting. They by and large praised the endeavour, saying that there is a huge potential of business collaborations between both the countries, and they heaped praises on the political leadership of both the countries. Let's listen in.
Frankly speaking, I'm really impressed because, you know, India is a combination of long history and technologies of the future. So I'm very glad that our leaders has, I can't say business relations or political relations, because it's a big friendship, not only business or political relations. I'm really glad that they're meeting and that they get together the businesses of India and Russia to find some interesting additional potential for the mutual development.
Your leader and our leader, big friends, and the main idea, each of them, to help, first of all, their own country, their own people. And in this situation, very nice that we together and we develop our relationships, friendship relationships, and I'm sure that this meeting will be very fruitful.
I think India and Russia have been trusted partners for ever. And I think we've come to, somebody said, you know, through thick and thin, through all kinds of weathers, we have stayed together. Of course, I think with this friendship, we do see this going to another level.
The Indian-Russian friendship has been great since many, many years always. I was but recently in Moscow around 3-4 months back when I had gone with a delegation with Jaishankar ji, and I could see the warmth that the Russians have especially for Indians. And I could see, they had such high regards for our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, and they believed, he has changed the face of the country, and they believed, the kind of camaraderie, kind of friendship that Russia and India has, and what the current leadership is taking it forward. I think it is very, very commendable, because as countries we need to partner, we need to support, and need to see in today's geopolitical scenario, it's great to have, friends like Russia.
Well, in a gesture of goodwill, Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented a set of culturally significant gifts to Russian President Vladimir Putin during his India visit. The collection highlighted India's rich heritage. It included fine Assam black tea, prized for its malty flavor and GI recognition, and an ornate Murshidabad silver tea set from West Bengal showcasing intricate craftsmanship. A handcrafted silver horse from Maharashtra reflected India's metal artistry, while a marble chess set from Agra under the ODOP initiative blended elegance with tradition. Kashmiri saffron, known for its deep aroma and color, symbolized India's culinary and cultural pride with GI and ODOP status. Also, the highlight was a Russian translation of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, offering timeless spiritual wisdom and underscoring India's cultural depth. Together, the gifts represented India's traditions, artistry, and values of friendship. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Ukraine-US hold constructive discussions to meet for third day for talks in Miami. US vaccine panel upends hepatitis B advice in latest Trump-era shift. And India will face South Africa in the series decider, third one-day international in Visakhapatnam today.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage, and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Kuran. And moving on, the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to decide the legality of President Donald Trump's directive to restrict birthright citizenship in the United States. Now, the Supreme Court will hear the Justice Department's appeal of a lower court decision that stopped Trump's order. That order would have told U.S. agencies not to recognize citizenship for children born in the U.S. if neither parent is a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident or a green card holder. Now, the lower court ruled that Trump's policy violated the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment and a federal law codifying birthright citizenship rights in a class action lawsuit by parents and children whose citizenship is threatened by the directive. And moving on, heavy fire was exchanged between Pakistan and Afghanistan along their border amid increased tension following unsuccessful peace talks earlier this week. Now, according to the officials, there were no immediate reports of casualties. Afghan Taliban spokesman Zabiullah Mujahid, in a statement, said Pakistani forces launched attacks in Spin Boldak district of Kandahar province, while a spokesman for Pakistan's Prime Minister accused Afghan forces of unprovoked firing along the German border. In a statement, spokesman Musharraf Zaidi said Pakistan remains fully alert and committed to ensuring its territorial integrity and the safety of our citizens. The exchange occurred just days after a recent round of peace talks, which failed to yield substantial results. And Ukrainian negotiator Rustem Umerov and Andriy Netov and President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner will hold a third straight day of talks in Miami on Saturday. Now, according to a joint statement issued separately by Umerov and the U.S. State Department, U.S. President Trump's special envoy held constructive discussions with Ukraine's senior negotiator in Florida on Friday. In a post on X, Witkoff said both the parties agreed that real progress towards any agreement depends on Russia's readiness to show serious commitment to long-term peace. That the U.S. and Ukrainian officials also agreed on the framework of security arrangements and discussed the necessary deterrence capabilities to sustain a lasting peace. The talks come after Witkoff and Kushner met Russian President Putin at the Kremlin on Tuesday to discuss a U.S. plan but rejected parts of the proposal. Well, an advisory panel appointed by the Trump administration's vaccine skeptic health secretary voted on Friday to stop recommending that all newborns in the United States receive a hepatitis B vaccine. Well, the move to end the decades-old recommendation is the panel's latest contentious about face-on vaccine policy since its overhaul by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. earlier this year. U.S. health authorities previously recommended all babies, not just those born to mothers believed to have hepatitis B, receive the first of 3 vaccine doses just after their birth. After delaying the vote by a day, the panel on Friday passed its new recommendation for individual-based decision-making in consultation with a healthcare provider when children are born to mothers testing negatively for the disease. And on to some business news now. India's Civil Aviation Ministry has taken serious note of the recent operational disruptions and cancellations of flights across IndiGo Airlines network. The next report by Adamya tells us about how IndiGo has cancelled flights, leading to woes of passengers at airports across India on Friday.
Air travel across India was in turmoil for the 4th day after IndiGo cancelled around 500 flights on Friday after failing to plan for new pilot flying time regulations, which increased the amount of mandatory rest per week for pilots by 12 hours to 48 hours, effective November 1st. Minister of Civil Aviation, Kinjarapu Ram Mohan Naidu, chaired a high-level review meeting with IndiGo's senior management and expressed clear displeasure regarding the manner in which the situation was handled by the airline.
In fact, from December 3rd, since when the IndiGo has been facing major operational issues and because of which there have been a lot of delays and cancellations, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has been actively on the ground engaging with all the necessary stakeholders for 2 things. 1, for passenger care, comfort and convenience. We want to reduce all the inconvenience that the passengers are facing at the airports. And 2, we want to ensure safe operations in the country also. This 2 priority, the ministry has been thoroughly engaging from day 1.
IndiGo is facing a shortage of pilots after new government rules to combat fatigue for pilots came into effect. This has resulted in long delays at major airports in New Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad and Bengaluru, leaving passengers stranded and visibly angry.
We had been come over for the Hornbill Festival in Nagaland. So 20 of us, around few of us had booked the flights. So those are booked in Akasa and Air India, they didn't have any hassle at all. They were departed with their flights. Only IndiGo has its concern.
We booked an IndiGo flight. This is at 7:10. And till now, we have no information whether the flight is going to take off or not. As per now, each and every flight is being cancelled.
Amidst the ongoing crisis, IndiGo Airlines, which commands 60% of India's aviation market, has flagged that it does not expect to fully restore operations until February 10th. Adamya Mishra's report for DD India.
Well, with the mass cancellation of flights by IndiGo and fares of other airlines skyrocketing, Indian Railways has come to the rescue, added 116 extra coaches to 37 trains, mostly in Southern Railway, Northern Railway and Western Railway. The coaches included 2-tier, 3-tier and chair car AC coaches. More coaches would be added to trains heading to other destinations soon. The official said the berths would be allotted on a first-come, first-served basis as the reservation for these extra coaches were not acceded to the computerized reservation system yet. In total, the arrangements are expected to handle 35,000 passengers per day, ensuring connectivity for nearly 26 lakh passengers during this period. And on to some sports news now. The Indian team might ring in some changes in the playing 11 as they face South Africa in the series decider, third one-day international in Visakhapatnam on Saturday. Both teams have won one match each, so the winner will bag the three-match series. India could drop fast bowler Prasidh Krishna after he conceded 85 runs in 8.2 overs in the previous match, where the host failed to defend the target of 359 runs. And spirited Indian junior men's hockey team held their nerves to beat Belgium 2-2 in a high-octane quarter-final clash at the Hockey Men's Junior World Cup in Chennai. Princedeep Singh was the hero of the match with some incredible saves in the shootout that brought about glimpses of his coach, P.R. Srijesh, the former custodian of Indian senior team. Next up, India will take on seven-time champions Germany in the semi-final on the 7th of December. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Kurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.